Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Nebraska Cornhuskers not scoring only one, but two major victories on the recruiting trail in the 2024 class, keeping the number 3 and number 4 best players in the state of Nebraska home in Isaiah McMorris and DaeVonn Hall. I'm going to talk about both of these guys, two really dynamic wide receivers that I like because they get it done in different ways. And we're going to talk about what this 2024 class could look like. Matt Rhule putting together a pretty strong class in 2024, sitting inside the top 20 with some big names that we'll talk about that could be added to this class. Matt Rhule is a guy, and we've talked about this a little before, not necessarily always going to go with the national media rankings, right? 24/7 on 3. You go back to Matt Rhule's time at Baylor, he's known for just being a very good evaluator of talent. Right, you look at some of his recruiting class at Baylor, Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard, Tyquan Thornton, all guys that put out into the NFL. Were all Big 12, some of them, Jalen Petrie, an All-American, that were 3-star, lowly ranked guys out of the state or out of their recruiting classes. And so what Matt Rhule, I think, excels, not only I think is he a very good developer of talent in terms of player development, I think he's also very good at scouting talent. That some guys that might go under the radar, they don't go under the radar to Matt Rhule. He's done a phenomenal job evaluating talent, getting guys that are going to fit his program, and then developing that talent. That's been the key to his success at stops like Temple, at stops like Baylor, and ideally at Nebraska. He's able to get top-notch talent and then develop that talent, and that's really where you're really optimistic about where this Nebraska program is going. We've been on record saying probably the best coaching hire that we saw all offseason. I think Matt Rhule is a perfect fit to Nebraska. Everything I listen to, he seems to be just a Nebraska coach, I think would be the best way. Even going back to using the fullback in the spring game, going full tackle, the quarterback's going live. I've loved everything Matt Rhule has done, including getting guys in the transfer portal. He's done a phenomenal job to start his tenure at Nebraska. Now, before we get into talking about these players and talking about what this 2024 class could be, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Nebraska fans. You guys know we've had a ton of fun talking Matt Rhule, Nebraska, the new era. You guys have been just absolutely awesome supporting the boys. So if you do enjoy the content, you like talking recruiting, consider subscribing to the channel. It's been a busy last couple of weeks on the recruiting trail. And for Nebraska, I think it could really heat up in the months of July and August as well. So if you do enjoy the updates, lock in, subscribe to the channel. Again, appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Let's get into these players. I want to start with Isaiah McMorris, who is the lower ranked player according to 24/7 Sports, but the guy I'm a little bit more excited for just because of the speed. And you see his offers, Oklahoma, USC, Texas A&M. A lot of these Power 5 teams wanted him. You want to know why? It's because of that 10,600 meter speed, the 4.47 40 at camps. Teams want to find speed. Like if you have the ability, when you're just faster than the guy across you trying to cover you, that puts defenses in a big time bind. And Isaiah McMorris is one of those dudes that not only is he really, really fast, but he's got some nice movement skills in terms of creating separation in his routes. When you go back and watch, yes, he wins vertically down the field, but you see a very fluid mover as well. That's probably why you're most excited about a guy in Isaiah McMorris, who, again, winning on the recruiting trail for a wide receiver, beating out a team like USC, that's a massive win for Matt Rhule and the staff. Now, the next player, DaeVonn Hall, and I want to mention before I forget, Bellevue West, DaeVonn Hall, we're going to switch to him. Bellevue West, do you know who the quarterback is for Bellevue West? I'm sure a lot of the Nebraska fans listening do. Daniel Kalin, who's already in this class. So you're getting some chemistry. Like, these guys absolutely tore it up on Friday nights as well. So you're really excited about that. DaeVonn Hall does it a little bit differently. I think DaeVonn Hall's specialty is working after the catch. Really, really good with the ball in his hands. And I love that in terms of a quarterback's best friend. Like if you have the ability to get the football out early to a playmaker and let him do the rest, that makes a quarterback's job a lot easier. And having a guy like Daniel Kalin, who's probably going to be working with these guys a lot, and maybe by his second or third year, these guys are going to be kind of the integral parts of this offense. I think you're really excited about what both Isaiah McMorris and DaeVonn Hall bring to this offense and some weapons for Daniel Kalin to really get to work. Now, taking a look at this Nebraska class in general, it's not headlined by, you don't have a Malachi Coleman in this class, but it's a pretty damn solid class, right? Mario Buford going to the state of Texas and getting two really highly sought after guys in Mario Buford and Roger Gradney. You love that. Willis McGahee. I do want to spend some time talking Daniel Kalin, who was a flip from Missouri. We've talked about this a little bit. Just a brilliant job by Matt Rhule and the staff in terms of when you had the chance to get Dylan Raiola, you poured all your eggs in that basket. Obviously didn't work out. Daniel Kalin was in a very, very nice pivot play. It sounds like you're going to see a bump to his 24/7 recruiting ranking. Crushed it at the Elite 11 from the scouting notes that I've read. A very accurate quarterback. He's got an arm that can reach all areas of the field. He can attack that last third of the defense, but a guy that's really accurate and really a polished pocket passer. And so I think that's a really nice get by Matt Rhule to get Daniel Kalin after not really winning it out for Dylan Raiola. And then again, continuing to go in the state of Texas, get guys like Ian Flint, Gibson Pyle. This class is coming together, and it's not necessarily the flashiest class, but it's a class that I think Nebraska fans are feeling pretty good about. Again, they haven't added DaeVonn Hall or Isaiah McMorris into this rankings yet. It's probably going to move up to a top 20 class. It's a damn good start for Matt Rhule in Nebraska in his first year of a full recruiting cycle, and it could get a lot better. You take a look at who will be on campus Friday, June 23rd, easily their biggest official visit weekend. Two guys that probably turn into the next two top targets in this class. One, Grant Brix, in a really down offensive tackle class in 2024. You hear the scouts, you hear the coaches kind of comment on this tackle class, not really the best class we've seen. The opportunity to get Grant Brix, the fifth best tackle in the class, and then Brandon Baker, the number one tackle in this class. I think you're feeling really good about maybe landing one of those. Brandon Baker, it's a little bit more of a long shot, but Grant Brix right in there. He's from Iowa, battling, it sounds like, Kansas State for that commitment. And then Carter Nelson, obviously a lot of traction there with Georgia. One thing I'd say about Georgia is I get they use a lot of tight ends. They've already taken two tight ends in their 2024 class. So, yeah, Carter Nelson is a guy that, freak athlete, 6'4", 210 pounds, does track and has just some insane track numbers. And if you see, he's a guy that you talk about being a matchup nightmare at that tight end spot. Carter Nelson is. He's big. He has a really good frame to put on weight, but he also just flies. Like, linebackers are not going to be able to deal with a guy like Carter Nelson in space. And you got the number 2, number 3, number 4 players in the state of Nebraska already locked in. Carter Nelson, I think, suddenly becomes that next biggest target for Nebraska. And if you're able to land one of these two guys, feeling pretty good about Nebraska being and finishing up as a top 15 class in the country. And if you give Matt Rhule that kind of talent, he's going to do work with it. That's what I'm so excited about, is I think Nebraska's finally a spot. Like, when he went to Baylor, that program was such a mess. Temple's just an impossible place to recruit at. Nebraska, I think, will be able to get a lot of talented players, and you couple that with how good Matt Rhule has been with not only hitting on the recruits he takes, but how tight of a program he runs and how good of a player developer he is. That's what's most excited about this Nebraska team. It really does seem like this program is trending up. I cannot wait to see this. Even year one, like this team is talented enough to win a lot of games in year one, but once he continues to start getting this talent and building this culture in Nebraska, I really do think he's the man for the job to get Nebraska back where it belongs. And obviously, as a college football fan, as a fan of the Big Ten, if y'all know I'm a Michigan fan, it's better when Nebraska's playing good football. It just really is. So appreciate you guys checking the boys out again. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.